Welcome back. So in part 1 of our chicken coop build, we got the base made, the walls raised, the hardware cloth attached, the door installed, and framed in the floor of the coop. This video picks up the project on the second weekend. Thought I'd give you a look into my design process here. So it's Saturday morning, I've made my run to Home Depot. I sort of design as I build. So you can see here at my workstation, I've got the SketchUp model. I'm going to work on those nesting boxes today. I've got my Home Depot order list. I sort of keep a running track of what I'm buying for the project, and it makes it easy to build an order on homedepot.com and come in for in-store pickup, or they have a convenient curbside service with this COVID crisis going on. You can see I've also got the model on an iPad ready to go down into the shop where I'm going to work on these things for the day. Where we are to start the day. So we've got the ducks on the pond. Trucks parked down below where I've made my run to Home Depot for the morning. And here's where we are, where we left off last weekend. Got the main part of the coop up, the frame up for the run, I guess. All the rafters are all painted and ready to go together. And collection of siding parts and roofing material waiting for this weekend's work. So let's head down into the shop and we'll get started building those roosting boxes. Here I'm making some cross members that will sit underneath the boxes to support them. These pieces will fit inside the existing end wall. I don't often use pocket screws, but once in a while, for joints that aren't going to be too heavily loaded, they come in handy. Here I'm using a Kreg jig to drill pocket screws in each end of these cross members. We've been painting parts as we go. They're easier to paint as individual pieces and end up better protected because you can paint the ends and sides of parts that you couldn't get if you'd painted after assembly. The nesting boxes were constructed from a sheet of 1/2-inch OSB. The sides and dividers join the box floor and roof using dado joints, which I cut on the table saw using a stacked dado blade. I trimmed out the nesting boxes using some hardboard siding painted barn red and some 1x material painted white. The access door for the nesting boxes was built out of the same trim and siding material. I joined the rails and stiles of the door using lap joints cut on the table saw, using my crosscut sled and a tenoning jig. I then assembled the door using glue at the lap joints, clamped to hold everything tight while the glue dries. So during breaks and in periods while glue and paint dried, I continued to work on my design. Here you can see the design for the coop doors. They have an inner door which can be opened to provide ventilation, with hardware cloth covering that opening. The outer doors can be opened when you need access to the coop, such as when you want to clean it out. Here you can also see the design for the nesting boxes and the access door that allows for egg collection. The hardware details you see in the model were simply imported from SketchUp's 3D warehouse. The larger doors were made of 2x4 material, again joined at the corners using lap joints. held together with glue and some brad nails to hold things in place while the glue dries. To allow for my siding panel in the door, I cut a rabbet in the back of the door using a rabbeting bit on my router table. I then cut the corners square using a chisel. And then, more painting. It was then time to go back outside. We'll have a look in at the chickens, who are rapidly outgrowing their temporary accommodations, before getting to work installing the rafters. Here again, my wife pitched in to help. With the rafters installed, the rain came, putting an end to the work for our second weekend on the project. The next weekend, before getting started on the chicken coop project again, we had a little bit of excitement as the local fire department stopped by to do a controlled burn of my neighbor's old drive shed. They would start each controlled burn and then let the new recruits put out the fire. They did that a few times before they really lit it up and let it burn. I actually missed the most dramatic part of the video because my phone overheated and failed to save the video file. My wife managed to snap this picture about the time my phone overheated. Once the shed had finished burning down, we got back to work on the chicken coop, starting by installing the nesting boxes. I then cut away the hardware cloth on the inside to free up the opening to the nesting boxes. Then I installed the shingles on the nesting box roof.
In addition to the adventure of having the neighbor burn his drive shed down today, we also made some good progress on the chicken coop. And the theme of the day was doors. So we got all the doors hung. These have a small set of panels that open up to let ventilation in. And then the larger doors open up to let the coop be cleaned out. And then we have the small access door so you can get the eggs out of the nesting boxes. Around the back, you got a small access door that drops down so you can just sweep out the coop. And a little sliding window to allow for ventilation on hot days. Inside the coop, we can see our nesting boxes and a roosting bar.
For the window for the coop, we reused one of the old storm windows from the house. This was a 6-pane window that I cut in half and then trimmed out. They're cool old windows, complete with the imperfect glass that you see in very old houses. Next I put up the rest of the siding, installed the window, and trimmed out the little door that the chickens would use to enter the coop. I wanted to make it so you could open that coop door from the outside of the enclosure, so I made a small pulley system to help me route the cable that we'll use to open the door. I'll keep a bit of suspense and show you how that works later, but I turned the pulley on my lathe using a scrap of an old cherry table leg. I then used my drill press to cut the mortise and axle hole in the supporting member. On the fourth weekend of the project, it was time to finish the roof. I installed the fascia board, added a drip edge, and put down the shingles. As I got near the end of this project, I got a bit lax in recording all the details, but what remained was building and installing a ramp to the coop, and installing a 2-foot perimeter of hardware cloth on the ground outside the coop to protect against predators burrowing under the coop to get at the chickens. So with the construction pretty much done, I'll take a walk around the mostly finished coop and wrap up this video here. In a subsequent video, I'll add a couple of finished details, review the design, materials, and budget, and give you a tour of the features of the coop. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching.